maximum iron. Cerberus strength. Richard Worcester. Fiona Devney. Matthew Allison. Scotland. It's known for haggis. Tartan. Bagpipes. Whiskey. The Highlands. Lochs and castles. But something is missing. Stonelifting. Stones, the rise, fall and rise of Scottish stone lifting.
So try to explain a stone tour to someone who necessarily might not know about stone tours or why we do it, but I think it's a bit strange. It's just, I think that if to describe it in one word, it's an adventure.
I've always heard about the stone tour and I thought, okay, what's the big deal? There's stones everywhere. But I actually come here and hear about the history of who the people were that lifted these stones to see the locations that they're in. My God, it's gorgeous. It's like it gives all this travel a direction and a purpose. It's not like just going to see something, you're doing something and seeing something. No better combo.
It's never for me about lifting the stone, it's the journey. It's the journey, it's the scenery. It's the friendships you bond. I very seldom ever go lift a stone alone. It's usually as part of a group. And then we've forged that memory together and we've travelled through the beautiful Highlands and saw some breathtaking scenery, whether it's in the pissing rain, 8 inches of snow or the scorching sunshine. So yeah, I think as silly as it sounds, but the actual process of lifting stone from point A to point B is not always the priority for me.
I think once you try it, you become hooked on it. It's one of the things, you get to meet other people that do it, you get to go to beautiful locations, you get to lift amazing stones, and it does become a passion. It becomes such a thing that you want to just try and get better and better at.
You just sort of learn about yourself. There's excitement, first of all, about where you're going and the sort of mystery behind it all. And if you are actually trying to find a stone you've never been there before, it's unknown.
The rush of seeing the stone there and who's lifted it before you, the scenery, especially like the Glen Lyon, just absolutely stunning.
A bunch of like-minded people, you might not know them very well, but by the end of the stone tour you've got that bond, you've got that brotherhood that comes with stone lifting.
And there's lots of cheering and wishing people the best in their lifts, and that can help because it's not like lifting in the gym.
And it's, people like strength tests in the strongman world, they like different forms of it, It's one thing going into a gym and lifting with calibrated plates and bar. It's another thing lifting a stone like this when it's, more weight to this side or it's unweighted, it's not got good grip, it's wet, things like that.
But it is a great way to go out with your pals if everybody's into it, because the camaraderie that goes on in it is brilliant. And I know that the stone tours I've been on, people just kick off each other and it's just been magical moments. And I'll be honest with you, in a couple of stone tours that I've had, there's been some emotional moments, and I've been emotional myself getting a lift that I was dying to get, and actually getting it, I can't describe it, it's just like a bit of a euphoria moment.
The Scotland's strongest man, Conor, former world's strongest man, Matt Lissus, and then everybody else who was there that day were all sort of legends of Stonelifting as well.
Favourite stone location, much like most people, I think it's the Fianna.
The setting there's just gorgeous with the hills behind you, sitting in Glen Lyon.
The actual stone itself is a real challenge because it's got rounded edges as you'd expect, but each side is different. It's unbalanced, it's sort of long and conical, so it presents a real challenge, and I think that's now that, with its history attached to it, yeah, it makes it one of the most respected and well-known stones out of them all. It almost puts you back in that place hundreds of years ago where there was no huge big buildings around you. It was just the grass underfoot and the stone sitting there ready to be lifted.
The 127 kilogram Fianna Stone. The 2019 World's Strongest Man, Martins Leeses, had journeyed from California to Scotland to go on a stone tour with some of Scotland's strongest stone lifters.
Same again, come on! You got it, you can do it. Push it off. Steady. Settle. That's it, come on. Jesus, man.
Definitely doable, yeah. It's doable.
What had just been attempted was something that's never been done before. Lifting the stone to your chest is seen as an incredible feat of strength. What happened next was unbelievable.
Come on, laddie. Aye. Go on, Martins. Yeah. Vision. Yeah, buddy. Go. Lightweight, baby. Come on. Go on. Come on, son. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Come on, Come on, be the buff. Yeah. There's Massey. Oh, that's it! Yes. Holy shit.
Pressing a stone is a part of modern stone lifting. When stone lifting first began, just breaking the ground would have been deemed a great lift. Pressing Scottish stones probably started with Bill Kazmaier in 1979 when he pressed the Inverstone.
I saw the picture of Bill Kazmaier with the Inverstone above his head, and I was like, I would really like to replicate something that a man of his stature, you know, I held Bill Kazmaier with incredible regard. So I just wanted to replicate something that a legend had did. But again, at that point, I wasn't as engulfed in the tradition. There was the stone lifting culture wasn't as big. Obviously, the internet. I think I did it in 2009, and you know, social media and stone lifting sites and all this wasn't as big. So it was more kind of folklore. I was looking forward to doing it, but at that point, I didn't really truly get the significance of the stones. I didn't know the historical value and how steeped in Scottish tradition they were. We had just been training stones every Sunday for strongman, and I had started developing this party piece with the lighter ones. I would one motion and then press.
Scots, originally from Ireland, had settled in what is now known as Argyll. It became known as Dalriada. We're taking you on a stone tour through time. Our journey starts over 1,500 years ago. The Scots brought with them tales of the Fianna, real myth, folklore and legend. Fianna generally lived on the outskirts of society, and Glen Lyon starts on the border of Dalriada. And within the glen is Finn's Rock, a huge stone rising from the ground. According to the legend, Finn McCool, the leader of the Fianna, split the stone with his arrow, leaving it as it stands today. Finn may have been folklore, but the people telling the stories were very real. Not far from Finn's Rock is a stone with legendary status. The testing stone of the Fianna is said to have been used to test the strength of young men aspiring to join the Fianna ranks. They would have to lift the stone from the ground and place it onto the plinth. The stone would have first been lifted around this time and was situated by one of the Fianna's forts. We remain in Glen Lyon, but 1,000 years later. The Fianna were long gone, and Scotland, as we know it, had started to take shape. The strength culture of the Scots and Fianna had spread. Scotland, although beautiful, is a harsh, unforgiving land. The weak would succumb to the brutal conditions of Highland life. Strength, therefore, was a requirement. At any moment, a Highlander may have to protect his clan's lands. This was the peak of stone lifting, with probably more than 1,000 lifting stones across Scotland. Being part of a clan would have brought identity and safety. The clan chief was responsible for everyone in the clan and their land. He would have wanted strong people around him. A culture of strength would have been fostered, with stories of strength told regularly, designed to instill pride in the clan and to shape boys into men and men into warriors.
A young lad wanting to either impress his father or his other clan members and wanting to become a man, he will lift a big stone.
A 14-year-old male was considered an adult, and he would be expected to put the wind beneath the clan's lifting stone. This wasn't a grand ceremony into manhood, but just something that was anticipated. Boys of 10 to 14 would have regularly been attempting to put the wind beneath the stone.
From being lifted by clan members, from the same clan, from different clans. And then there's so many stories about the stones, how people have lifted the stones to settle arguments instead of fighting with the fists.
Stone lifting didn't stop as soon as you became a man, though. A man's worth would have increased the higher he could lift the stone, or how impressively he could lift it. The Baraven Stone. The putting stone of the clans at the ancient church of Baraven. The stone is situated in the north side of the courtyard, next to a stone coffin. The coffin was used for punishments, where the lawbreaker was made to lie in the coffin. A stone slab was then placed over them, and the stone was then lifted onto the slab. The stone was also used as a test of strength by local clans. The stone was last lifted in 1945, until Martin Janssens made the first lift in modern times on the 22nd of March 2012.
The first historic stone I lifted was the Baraven Stone. That was in 2020, and I was just amazed at the scenery, and I'd read up about articles about the stone before I went, so I had somewhat of an understanding of the history, and it was just such an amazing feeling to be able to lift it. It took quite a few attempts.
That's what historic stones are for. They're about an individual to go and test their own abilities and strength against the stone.
I really enjoyed that, the setting. Like, we actually went by the church and looked at all the gravestones, and just, there's so much history, and you want to know like what exactly went on during that time and who was in that grave with the stone on so they couldn't get out. And just, there's so much like stories and things that are so twisted in all these stones that you always sit there and wonder like what was happening, or what, you know, happened here, or what could have possibly happened here. And it's just, it's different than going to a gym and seeing weights, because it's like, you know, weights just go up and down and, you know, whatever. But when we go to all these sites, like we went to some of them, you're like in the middle of the forest, and it's just a stone, and it's just like you sit there and you drive up to it, you find it, and you just take it all in. Like, it's just so much things that you can sit and wonder. Like, we don't just go do the stone, pick it up and leave. We always just kind of sit and like kind of take it in, because it's a beautiful country, but it's just, you kind of wonder what's all been down and what has happened, and it's just, all the stories that are tied into it, to me, is just really cool.
The Chieftain Stone. Located outside Castle Mingus, it was used as a test of strength and was expected to be lifted and carried.
It's often called the Chieftain Stone, weighs 252 pounds, is a big ball of granite. A man was expected to lift it and carry it around 10 paces.
When I got that stone, I can't describe the feeling I got when you know it's here. Actually getting it, I can't describe it, it's just like a bit of a euphoria moment.
Up you go! Yes! That's going this time! Push it up! There it is! Yes! There you go, man! Yes! That's it done! That's it done, Paul. Woo! on, Martins. Come on!
Let's go, see it.
Yes, I know that.
One more, please.
And again.
Come on in, Martys. This is the best one yet.
This is epic. Come on!
Come on!
Yes.
Let's see it.
Go on.
Come on then.
Come on, Dragon. Come on.
Everything.
And up the
Woo! Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Martin!
Thank you, brother.
The Blue Stones of Old Daly. These stones were located on the north side of the church, the same as the Baraven stone. They would have been used by churchgoers to test their strength. Peter Martin Sr., Steve Jack, David Horn, Nick McKinless, and Lee Morrison all lifted the stones, Steve Jack being the first to lift them in over 50 years. The stones are now shackled inside the church, supposedly to prevent theft. A long battle took place to try and free the stones, but to this day they remain shackled. The Reformation of 1560 would see churches move to a Presbyterian system, and stonelifting wouldn't have been allowed at the church anymore. This led to churchgoers meeting at the final coffin stop before the church to partake in stonelifting and putting. The Newton Moor stone was situated along a coffin road and had a lifting stone and putting stone beside the cairn.
You know, there would be like coffin roads, there'd be men carrying the coffin of a deceased person from the village along the coffin road. They would rest the coffin on the cairn and then lift and drink whiskey and reminisce and tell stories.
The Putterack Stone. Located in Balquidder, the heart of Clan MacGregor lands, it could almost be certain that Rob Roy MacGregor would have lifted this stone. His grave is only a short walking distance from the stone. The Putterack was to be lifted onto the Putterack plinth. The original stone was lost during the Highland clearances, but a replacement stone was found by Peter Martin in 2011, so lifting to the plinth could begin again.
I came across the work of a guy called Peter Martin, who's no longer with us, sadly. And Peter Martin basically rediscovered stones that had been lost to the, you know, things like the Highland clearances or the Reformation and things like that in the history, the Jacobite uprising, the failure of the clan system.
The more he researched the stone, he would find out more and more about it. And the more history he knew about each stone, the more he fell in love with the stone and the whole thing itself. So it's just the pure history behind the stones is what Peter Martin really loved about the whole thing.
After researching some of Peter Martin's work, it became apparent that there was a few things that Peter would have liked to have seen before he passed. And one of them was the locating or placing of a stone at Monachyle Moor. So in 2020, I decided I was going to go there. I was going to find an appropriate stone and place one there so that lifting could begin at the ancient plinth.
It's believed this area was common for lifting stones to be lifted onto plinths.
I found the plinth easy enough from Peter Martin's picture. I looked at the kind of lay of the land and it looked awfully sloping, and I just thought to myself, man, that stone's got to have rolled down the hill. It's got to be here. So I started searching about for it, and lo and behold, about 20 metres away from the plinth, I found the top of a stone sticking out the ground. Now, I dug it out and I turned it over, and I knew straight away that that was the Monachyle Stone. And the giveaway signs were curved scoring on the underside of the stone that matched the kind of sharpness of the plinth. You know, it was a giveaway sign. The weight was right, 120 kilos. Well, I ended up weighing it. It was 120 kilos right on the nose. And the shape was just, it was definitely the lifting stone. I was absolutely elated, so I rolled it back up to the plinth and I put it on the plinth for its first lift, and, well, who knows, could be in 100, 200 years, you never know. People started visiting and lifting because it's one of the most beautiful sites for lifting in Scotland. But sadly, it was a place known to be frequented by wild campers. I got the unfortunate message from Jacob Hetherington, who had arrived there to lift it, to find that it had been burnt, and the slither, probably about a kilogram slither, had been taken off it as a result of heat damage. So after talking with some prominent stone lifters, it was decided that the stone had to be moved for its own protection. The natural choice had to be keeping it in the same glen and putting it alongside its sister stone, the Pewterach.
Oh, you're right. Nice one, Brett.
Unfortunately, the Pewterach plinth is ancient. It's been found to be over 2,000 years old, and it's got a couple of cracks in it, so it was decided collectively that the stone would not be allowed to be placed on the plinth top because it was too heavy, and people struggling might damage the lip of the plinth. So, you know, but on a flip side of that coin, the stone's still protected, and that's all that matters.
Yep, pull it in. Now you need to squeeze with your buys, man, come on. Yes!
It's that little, now the bit that's broke off.
Ah.
Just fucking touch your arm and off, doesn't it?
Come on.
One a day.
Easy, man.
Yes.
Woo!
Man.
Mandy, man, easy, man.
Kilkern Castle. Black Donald was a clan chief's bodyguard. Known as Strong Black Donald, he could twist off a cow's leg. This was a well-known strength trial for bodyguards at the time. Donald had his own stone to train with and could use it daily. He wasn't subject to the life of a normal Highlander. His great strength had afforded him this. He would have been expected to maintain his exceptional strength, ready to serve the clan chief whenever required. Donald's stone has been lost to time, but stonelifting has resumed nearby, with the stunning Kilkern Castle as a backdrop for stonelifters. The Battle of Culloden, 16th of April, 1746. Highland clans fighting for Charles Edward Stuart were cold, hungry and exhausted. After marching through the night, rain and sleet had spoiled their gunpowder. The outnumbered Highlanders' only hope was their feared Highland charge, which took their opponents by surprise. No order to charge came. Cumberland's men had plenty of time to get their cannons into position. The Duke of Cumberland gave the order, "Give no quarter." The Highlanders were slaughtered, blown apart. What happened at Culloden would have been truly horrific to witness. No one was spared. The Duke earned himself the nickname, the Butcher. "1,300 men died in less than an hour. Not only did those brave men die that day, an entire way of life died. On the 1st of August 1746, the Dress Act was introduced and the wearing of Highland clothing was banned. Anyone caught was imprisoned or sent to an overseas plantation for 7 years. The British government feared further uprisings and wanted to rid Scotland of its Highland warriors, clan systems and cultures. This included stonelifting. Scotland was embarking on the darkest part of its history. Over the next 110 years, the Highlanders of Scotland would be removed from their lands, replaced with far more profitable sheep. While some would like you to believe that the Highlanders all decided to set sail for better lives overseas, the reality is far darker. People's homes were burned, sometimes while they were still inside. People died, exposed to the elements as they had nowhere to go. Their bodies found in the ruins of their houses. The Strathmore of Durness. This is the most remote lifting stone in Scotland, situated at the southern end of Loch Hope. This area was affected the most by the Highland clearances. The glen used to be a busy hub of activity, with many families living there. James Graham was the first person to lift the stone in modern times when he went there with Peter Martin.
So we had to go up so far up north and then stop for an overnight stay because it's too far to go in one trek. So far north it doesn't get dark at night. So it was a good overnight experience. We're all camped up in this tiny bed and breakfast, lots of snoring. And Peter's got his trusty laptop with him, which has all his research in it. So you're that close to where the magic happens. All these yet to be rediscovered stones. Next morning we head up to Strathmore of Durness, and I was fortunately offered first lift of that stone, which as far as we know hadn't been lifted in living memory, maybe 100 years or more. And myself and Martin were both successful in lifting that stone. Really remote, a unique experience to lift in the middle of nowhere.
So whether you've got a person on the stone tour who takes 20 attempts to get the wind beneath the stone, so just lift the stone off the ground and no more, we will all be going absolutely crazy. We'll be cheering for them, we'll be absolutely going crazy, what a lift. By the same token, if somebody else is more experienced and they get a chest lift, after 20 attempts we'll go crazy for them as well. So that's what's so wonderful, is it's scalable, and everybody's got their own personal goal on the stone tour, but then you're all there for a similar reason. So it's like that brotherhood in stone is really what a stone tour's all about.
Some lifting stones have links to local inns and were lifted by cattle drovers and whisky smugglers. The Glenroy Stones, Dalwhinnie Stone and Inverstone were all located near inns. The stones at Glenroy were lifted and placed atop of each other. Competitions between men would often take place, along with the drinking of whisky.
Nice, man. There you go. Yeah, that's good. Keep it that way.
Good.
Pull it in. You're not going to be able to clasp your hands, you're just going to have to squeeze.
That's
what I try and do.
Come on, Fisher.
Come on. Work it.
Up.
Again.
Come on.
Again. Come on. One more.
Come on.
Again.
And again.
One more.
One more.
Yeah.
Up.
Yes.
Yes.
Good fight.
I came across the Inverstone, and there was a lot of history behind the Inverstone, and I was quite intrigued with that. After reading that, I got in touch with a guy called Peter Martin, who wrote the story about it, and then I agreed to meet him about 3 months after reading that story at the Inverstone in Crathy, where it used to sit. And then for training with that, I went and got a stone from work and just lifted it as often as I could until I went and lifted the Inverstone. And that was me. From there, I just fell in love with historic stone lifting.
So although the Inverstone has been relocated now to Braemar Highland Game Centre, it used to be in Crathy with June Richards being the custodian. And I visited that stone several times and got to know June. And you always get invited in for a cup of tea and a biscuit, which I did enjoy that. But on one of the visits, someone had left tacky on the stone from their attempt, which is a no-no. There's no tacky allowed on the traditional stones. So I told June that over tea and biscuits, and it was the first and only time I'd ever seen her somewhat annoyed. So she was a good custodian. She knew what was to be expected of the lifters, but one time there was tacky on that traditional stone. We never found out who, but June was looking for you.
The Dripping Cave Stone. located outside a Cromarty cave, only accessible at low tide. This stone is famous because of the man who lifted it. Hugh Miller lifted the stone around 1820, lifting it to chest height. Miller became famous as a geologist and for his writing, but his story has a tragic ending. In 1856, he started suffering with psychotic depression, and in fear he'd harm his wife or his child, he shot himself on the 24th of December, 1856.
I think the reason why people come to Scotland to lift these stones, because it's a realistic weight for people back in the day to lift. You know, I think you've got to remember, like 300 years ago, 200 years ago, men were a lot smaller. So for them to lift a 100 kilo stone was just mammoth, you know, a mammoth task.
The Denny Stones. 1860 saw the Highland clearances finally come to an end. Long gone were manhood stones, but new stones were on the horizon. The Denny Stones were used as counterbalances for repairs on the Potarch Bridge, undertaken by Robert Dinnie and his son Donald. What brought the stones their fame was Donald walking with them the width of the bridge.
Donald Dinnie, yeah, you know, everybody knows about Donald Dinnie and the Denny Stones. When I was young, my father-in-law was a farmer up the Glen, and he used to mention he could lift the Denny Stones. And at that time, I had not been into stone lifting, and I never even knew there was such a thing as Denny Stones. So when you think back, you know, the Denny Stones have like been pushed into the social media now. Everybody knows what the Denny Stones are. You've got the Denny trainers now. Everybody's practicing on these things. But long time ago, the guys that would come to lift the Denny Stones would never have been able to train on these replica Denny trainers.
Donald and his father both lifted the stones, something that would be replicated in the future. Jack Shanks and his son Stevie have both lifted the stones.
Come on! Come on!
And more recently, Dr. Bill Crawford and his son Billy lifted the stones on the same day.
When I get up there, do my belt up like that.
Bill Crawford is 60 years of age. Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. Up, up, up. And we're up and clear. Yes, and a big smile. Come on, Billy. The history books are waiting. Come on, Billy. This is easy for you. Come on. Up, up, and hold. Yes, a big smile. Yes. Hold on. Hold. Hold. Squeeze. Yes. Yes. Oh, we got it. Yes. Yes. No, no, put them down. Hang on. You've got this. No pain. Come on. Yes. Wow.
In stone lifting, my most memorable moment would have to be lifting the Denny Stones. It was dedicated to my brother, who'd sadly passed away at the age of 20. And I thought I would set a New Year's resolution to mark the 20th year of his death. So I decided to see who I could contact to set up a Dinnie lift and see how long it would take. And the first name that I actually came to was Stevie Shanks, and I messaged back and forth, and he'd sort of give me advice on what sort of training I needed to do. And then he said, there's two people that live close to you, with you being based in Aberdeen. I'll give you the name of Jim Splain and Brett Nicol. And I messaged Jim and he gave me some advice, which was fantastic. And then he said, you know, the best guy to go to would be Brett Nicol.
Hi there, my name is Brett Nicol. I'm from Scotland and I've been a Scottish stone lifter for coming up to 17 years now. I first got introduced to the Denny Stones through my father, because I actually did archery and bankery through a guy called Sid Strachan, who famously crossed the bridge. Now my father said, I was only about 12 at the time, and my dad said, Sid Strachan carried a couple of famous heavy stones. My dad didn't actually know the name of them, to be honest with you. So when I asked Sid, I heard you lift a couple of stones. He actually said to me, he goes, yep, I did, but you don't want to be doing that because it'll break your back, right? So that was the first time I heard about it. And then I never thought about it again, never heard anything, never seen anything until I was about 17. And I was with a guy, a forest worker guy, who was working for him. We were passing a hotel in his van. And he said, there's a couple of famous stones there. This famous Scottish guy lifted, and I was like, aye. And I'd even forgotten about the Sid Strachan thing, believe it or no. So we jumped out and everybody was lifting it. And I managed to get the little one off the ground with one hand. And at that time I was quite light, I was about 10 stone. And he was like, holy shit. And then yet again, never really heard about it again until I was doing the Highland Games and I met Callum Morrison, and he'd done them at the Highland Games with 56s and that on him and did a good job as well. So then I dropped out again, never thought about it until a friend of mine had done them, and that's when really the seed got sown for me. And I was like, right, I'm going to train to do them, and that's what I did. I trained to lift them. Within 5 weeks of training, I was already at Dinnie weight, and then I made my own stones and just snowballed from there, really.
But never done any strength sports. I'd never been in a gym in my life either. So anyway, I went round to Brett and he got me lifting some ring stones. And on my first visit, he got me to do a straddle lift with the Nicol stones, which was pretty surreal because I'd seen them on Europe's Strongest Man. And I thought, this is just crazy, because I've always been a strongman fan, but just never done it myself. I thought it would take me about 1.5 years training. It took me about 6 months training, 7 months training to get to the stage where I could lift the Dinnies. I successfully lifted the Dinnies the first time. Held them for about 5 seconds, which was my goal. And I was really chuffed being able to do that, and it was just such a huge feeling, it almost felt like a weight off my shoulders, because I'd known that my brother had touched the Dinnies when he was 15. He'd lifted the small Dinnie with 2 hands, which was pretty strong for a 15-year-old guy. It sort of brings the family together, and it brings people together, and you make friendships out of this just by deciding to do one thing. It certainly changed my life for the better, that's for sure.
Come on, breathe.
The Denny Stones have started to become associated with records. Mark Haydock has held the stones for the longest time, with 46.3 seconds. And Brett Nicol holds the record for the most Denny Stones lifts in history, approaching 600 successful lifts.
Let's be honest here, the Denny Stones next to the Husafelt is the most famous stones of all, definitely.
Oltoch Donald Moj. stone lifting survived on the remote Scottish Islands. North Uist is home to a large number of stones, including Scotland's heaviest and second heaviest lifting stones. Oltoch Donald Mosh is the second heaviest and was said to be lifted overhead by Donald McClellan. However, this is something that's debated by islanders. Kelvin Hall, Glasgow. David Webster had issued a challenge to any of the Highland Games heavy athletes, and also anyone in the crowd. Could they lift the inverse stone?
Started in Kelvin Hall in Glasgow. If it wasn't for that one significant point in time, none of this culture would actually exist. David Webster took the inverse stone down in Glasgow to the Kelvin Hall. They put on a display. They made a makeshift wooden wall and painted it like it was like a stone wall. And he wanted the heavy athletes and anyone from the crowd to lift the inverse stone and see if they could put it on top of the wall.
This simple challenge would change stone lifting forever. In 1977, David Webster became the coordinator for a new TV program called The World's Strongest Men. Working with him was Douglas Edmonds. Inspired by the inverse stone, Edmonds and the McGlashan Masonry Company created the McGlashan Stones. Carved from granite with the words McGlashan Stone and the stone's number engraved into them. There were 4 stones that were used in the Highland Games. In 1986, World's Strongest Man introduced the Stones of Strength. The McGlashan Stones now had a 5th stone added, which was 308 pounds or 140 kilograms. The stones were lifted onto barrels, and without tacky, they proved troublesome for most. In 1993, 2 sets of new stones were made so strongmen could go head to head. These sets were slightly lighter and smaller than the original stones. They were still engraved with the McGlashan text, but were billed as the Atlas Stones. Atlas Stones are now synonymous with strongman, and it seems fitting that the best Atlas Stone lifter is a Scottish man.
In Scotland, we've got these amazing stones. It's an amazing test of strength. It's like a manhood. It's a coming-of-age strength. And it's no luck, I think, that I'm standing next to the best that there's ever been at Atlas Stones, which is the next level from the old historic stones, you know, the inverse stone. Now it's the Atlas Stone. So the Atlas Stone is the real pinnacle, I think, of strongman, as was the natural stones of Scotland. That was the real pinnacle of who was the strongest of the clan, who was the king's bodyguard, who was the best and strongest man in their region. And right now, this big, giant monster of a man is the greatest that's ever been at Atlas Stones. So for me, he is a real king of strength at the moment. And you want to talk to us, you obviously have the world records in pretty much every stone. So what have you got?
Yeah, so obviously Atlas Stones and me have a very good relationship. Got the world record, Atlas Stone, the heaviest one to ever lift 286 kilograms. I've got the fastest stone runs. I actually got the Al Blair stone run as well, which is a very nice piece of history to have. I did that a few years back.
Tom Stoltman's stone lifting strength has allowed him to become the world's strongest man, winning his first title in 2021 when it came down to the final event between him and Brian Shaw. The Ardvolich Stone.
It's the kind of camaraderie you get, and there's lots of guys out there really help you. And on a stone tour, when you've got a lot of good guys there, well, for me personally, I just love it, and I love to see guys like myself that have started. You see them getting stronger and stronger. You know, guys like John Gibb and Andy Crawford and Michael. It becomes like a drug. It's really addictive. I just wish there was more stones out there, because each time you lift a stone, you kind of tick that stone off, then you want to go and lift another stone and you tick that stone off. For me, I'm 59 now, so I didn't have that long left probably in stone lifting. I'd like to think I do.
Come on! Breathe in, let's go! That's it, go on, that's it. Come on, Mark. Stand up, squeeze it in.
Ah, wait a minute.
It just wasn't round enough.
It wasn't low enough.
No, but it wasn't round enough either.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Easy, man. Woo! Here we go.
Nice.
Wow.
Go on, Matt.
Come on, Matt.
Oh. Yes, Matt, come on.
Yes, Matt. Easy.
Traditional.
Easy, Matt. Come on in. Come on.
That's cool to see.
Let's get up there, Paul. Got it.
Go on, mate. Big drive.
Go on, Matt. Straight up, Matt.
Huh? Come on, Matt, come on.
Big man. Big man.
Up.
Let's go. You get it up there,
come on. Yes.
That's up.
Yes.
Up.
That's
it. Yeah. Hold it right. Let's go. Hand away.
Yes. Come on. Come on.
Yes, man.
Nice, man. That's freaking awesome.
When I first went to that one, I couldn't budge it. It was a little bit wet and it really took me by surprise. So I remember the second time I went back, it took me about, I'm sure, like 14 or 15 attempts to break the ground. Eventually I lapped it and got it to the chest height. But again, it's a nice setting, but that stone, the smoothness of it, it's so large. The challenge it presents is incredible. But then what really cemented it in my mind was when I went back, I put it on shoulder, and I was there with one of my heroes, Martin's Lissus, and just the memories of that stone is incredible.
Oh, that's easy.
Oh yeah, come on. Finish. Come on.
Oh yes! 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 Wow!
5 years in the making.
The first stone I lifted was actually the Ardvarlich, which I was told that was the most difficult one, so I was a wee bit hesitant getting into it. As a strongman, I use tacky a lot on stones, but that's forbidden with these, of course. So got there and it was surprisingly okay. I think that day I shouldered it on the second attempt quite easily. The first one maybe just get a wee feel for it. But that day I think there was the 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th person to shoulder it in the whole kind of history of the Ardvarlich stone. So that was a crazy day.
The nickel stones. Some stones slowly grow a history over many decades or longer. The nickel stones, however, have surged from one man's training aid to being the preeminent walking stones of the world.
I made these in 2017, it was round about that time, to add weights to try and walk with the Denny Stones. Hit a wall, got to about 300, I think it was about 310 kilos for, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet. Did it a few times, but it was awful taxing on you. And because of the nature of my job and all that, I knew it had to come to an end because everything was too much. But they got introduced to the IHGF in 2018 as a walking event. And I didn't call them that. It was Charlie who was running it, said we should call them the nickel stones, and that's how nickel walking stones, that's how it came up with the idea. And then they were in that for a couple of years, and then I got a call from Coll and Bryce from Giants Live to ask if we could use them in Giants Live because he's quite pally with Charlie. And Charlie'd obviously been speaking about them, and that's how it all snowballed into what it is today, which is absolutely amazing. When Colin phoned me and said he'd like to use them, I actually did think, Christ, it's not going to be enough weight for these guys. Well, the Royal Albert Hall, I mean, for me, that was mind-blowing. I mean, Glasgow was ace because it's a home, Scotland, you know what I mean? But the Royal Albert Hall, it's not just the event, it was just the actual Royal Albert Hall. It's mind-blowing. You look up to that ceiling, it just looks like it's a million miles away. And God, my Stones are on the biggest stage of all in Britain, you know, Royal Albert Hall, you know. So that's pretty mind-blowing stuff, especially coming from Scotland, you know what I mean?
This is phenomenal! From Eddie Williams, ladies and gentlemen, wow! Williams has passed the world record! This is unbelievable!
But even today, even with their training, nobody's getting much further with them. I mean, Eddie Williams did an amazing job, but everybody's still at the 20, 25 metre mark, which is magical. So it is a great challenge for them all. I'm proud for Scotland that walking stones, not just the Denny Stones, but I think Monachyle Stones is just in this massive explosion for walking events all around the world. I mean, I get messages from Instagram with people in Germany doing competitions, they're calling it a nickel walking event. There was a nickel walking party in Australia. Ken, it's all stemmed from this, which is magical. It's pretty, it's overwhelming. I know people say, oh gosh, it's like, you don't get time to think about it. Because if I think about it too long, it's a bit like, I can't actually describe how I feel about it all. I just know it's amazing for Scotland, because I've always been about that. The Nickel Stones, obviously it's about Brett Nicol, I get that. But for me, it's more of a Scottish thing. This is a great thing for Scotland. It's a great Scottish event, you know, and it stemmed from them big stones down the road there, that big Steens down there, you know, so magical, isn't it?
Cerberus Strength make the official replica handles and pins, which are used by the majority of athletes training for Walking Stones events. Donald Dinnie Day 2023 took place on the 6th of August. This was the 7th gathering since it started in 2017.
That was something that kind of came from me. Made a video for Rogue Fitness called Stoneland. And while we were making that, we were outside the Tart Cafe, and the Stones had just come back because the cafe had just been renovated. And what was lovely was my dad was there, David Webster was there, Bill Crawford was there, Jim Splain was there, Martin Janksix, Brett Nicol, a load of guys who all lifted the Denny Stones before. And because it was made by Road Fitness, it was headed up by Dr. Terry Todd and his wife Dr. Jan Todd, so they were all there as well. And it was a lovely mix of people who knew about each other over the years, but had never actually met. So it was having all those people in one place. I thought, wouldn't it be lovely to have everybody who's lifted the Denny Stones at this point in the one place, kind of just swapping stories, catching up, meeting each other in person for the first time. So a year later, that was August 2016, a year later in August 2017, we ran the first gathering.
The Donald Dinnie Games started off for the gathering, right? Because Stevie had come up, him and Martin had been talking, and Stevie come up with the idea of a gathering, him and Martin, of getting all the Denny Stone lifters and all that. And then we did that, and then me and Stevie were talking one day, and I said to him, I goes, it'd be good to have a strongman comp, kind of do some events. And he goes, yeah, I've thought about that as well. So that's how it kind of progressed. And I go, Stevie, I've got all the stuff here, kind of all the stones here. And he's like, and we've always got on really well, me and Stevie. So when me saying we should do a strongman company, he goes, yeah, I've thought about that as well. It just kind of progressed like that. And that's how the Donald Dinnie Games come about.
Here we are at the Donald Dinnie Gathering 2023. Come on boys, let's have a good day, hope the sun's out.
The day featured Dinnie attempts from lifters that had come from all over the world.
I do a lot of ammonia hits, just try to open up those airways and things and just think about it and just like, I'm gonna do this and I've got to do this. You know, I put pressure on myself, but not to the point where it psychs me out, but it psychs me up because I know I can do it. I just trust myself. I just flew all the way over here and I hope I picked these up. That was going through my head because, I mean, you put a lot of money and time into your training and you put a lot of effort, then you buy this ticket, you fly halfway across the globe, you're in front of all these people, and at that moment it's do or die. Either you pick them or you don't. And it's wild because you're over these stones that have been lifted by, you know, only a couple hundred people. And there's so much just history ingrained in them, and like, especially having Jan Todd there.
Come on, capable Hannah, come on! Come on, man!
Strapless, pure grip. Hannah is strong.
She was the first woman that's ever lifted them, and she watched me lift them, and to me that's a special moment I'll always remember. I'll always carry that with me, and I was very happy that she was there to witness that. I was the first woman from America to lift them without straps. I was the first woman from America to lift them since her. And to me that was special, and I'm glad I get to share that with her.
Lifting the Denny Stones is no easy task. Many have attempted them, only to be humbled by the giant granite stones. Weighing in at 188 and 144.5 kilos for a combined weight of 332.5 kilos.
Just leave it. Come on.
Hey, get it.
Tight, get it tight.
Nice and tight. He's got to get it this time. Look at it.
Skin is torn from hands as the rusted rings cut into palms.
Well, I guess this is my chalk now. Okay.
That's just a slippy drop. That can be fixed.
When you've travelled across the globe to lift these historic stones, you can't just give up. Sometimes it takes 2 or even 3 attempts to successfully lift the Dinnies.
Like, I judge all the Denny Stones, and I've seen at least 70 people fail it badly. Get them in the right position, get them in the gear, and they get it. And to see their faces, because from a moment of failure, and you can see that they're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get this, to the moment where they get it, it's even a magical moment for me, and I don't even know the people. Sometimes I've been emotional, it's like, yes, man, you know? So I think that's the whole great thing about Stonelifting, it's just that whole challenge, is it? You know, it's just a magical thing, there's no doubt about that.
The Dinnie Games saw two-time champion Conor Curran return as a guest referee. The battle for the win was between Chris Beetham,
That's the one!
Dale Murray, and Scottish strongman legend John Pollock. Chris never placed outside the top 3, and Dale was only outside the top 3 once. Chris Beetham took home the title.
Jan Todd, refereeing, and Brett Nichol, everybody, all these people who I look up to, who are hugely involved in the sports and hugely involved in stonelifting, and to be the best there on the day against some incredible athletes was an amazing experience, and certainly one I'll never forget.
The Jan Todd Games was held for the first time, and Hannah Lindsay put on an extremely dominant performance.
Winning the Jan Todd Games, the first one ever, was very special. Like Jan being there and getting to watch, you know, the game being commemorated after her name and everything she's brought to the sport for the women, and just, you know, her and Terry have done so much for everyone in the whole sport worldwide, all strength sports. It was really just special having her there and watching that, and words can't explain it.
The Stoltman brothers, Luke, Tom and Harry, were here to make history. 3 brothers lifting the Dinnies on the same day. Luke was up first. He made his lift look easy. Could Tom and Harry do the same?
Yeah, just although out the stones are, now the kind of common thing you see, it's nice to try my hand in some natural stone lifting as well. I've never ever done the Denny Stones, and to be able to lift them today was cool. I only ever pick up round stones, so it's nice. Being Scottish, I think it was about time myself and Luke finally did something to do with this Scottish stone history. So yeah, it was really good. But yeah, it was fun. But the king of up the stones is going to be me forever.
And I think also it's it's the ruggedness of the stones, you know, the ruggedness of these historic stones are very appropriate for the Scottish people, you know. We're rugged in nature, we have rugged weather, rugged landscape, and it's only natural that we lift these rugged stones to see who is the strongest. And that's why I think it means so much to us as Highlanders, as Scotsmen, as Scottish people, that millions of people now know about them, and they come up from all over, from New Zealand, America, Germany. They're all over here lifting these natural historic stones to see who can lift them all. And it feels really nice as kind of two brothers from Scotland, from the Highlands, that we get to see all these people. So it's amazing. Keep lifting the stones, keep being awesome, keep being strong, because strength in every way is the only way for pure freedom. You know, when you're strong mentally, emotionally, physically, that's where you can be free in your life. And that's what I think the stones are for the Scottish people.
It's just the history, you know, it's such tradition up here, and it's the passion as well. The people are so passionate about these stones. I've been lucky enough to come up and try a few of the different ones. The carrying stones are definitely my favourite. I like grip strength and I like moving with weights, so they kind of mean a lot to me. But they're horrible events to train. They're so uncomfortable on your thumbs and, you know, your hands, but when you're there in the moment, you forget about that pain and the people cheering you on, and it's just such an amazing experience.
Lawrence Shalley already holds the Denny Stones carry world record. What he wants is to equal, or better, Donald Dinnie's distance of 17 feet 1.5 inches when Donald Dinnie walked the stones across Pottach Bridge in 1860.
Let's go. Come on, Loss. Come on, get that. Come on, Loss. Walk that grip and come on. Look at this. 22 feet.
22 feet and 4 inches.
Yes!
Well, I wanted to come back and do it on the originals. Thank you to Stevie and the team for inviting me. Thank you to all of you for supporting. Not bad for your entire old strongman. Now get anyone like
Lawrence still there.
It was absolutely amazing today. Just such a good atmosphere. I came up 2 years ago to lift the Denny Stones, and there was about 8 people watching, which was still amazing. Just being up in the Highlands, and you know, the atmosphere of these old stones is incredible. But to have the likes of Tom Stoltman, Luke Stoltman, Harry, you know, Martins, Donna, Chloe Brennan, these people, you know, it really made me kind of up for it today. And that's something I struggle with as I got older. I'm not always as motivated as I was when I was younger. But I woke up this morning and I was just excited to be here. Just such a good day. And I didn't even expect to do as well as I did. Even my wife was like, I didn't expect you to do that. So it was kind of fun. Just having that many people supporting me meant a lot, and it was just so cool.
As I say, it's early morning. We were up at 2:30 and we made the early morning ferry, and it's turning out a beautiful morning, so we're going stone hunting. There's 2 stones that lie in Coll called Clachaltman Moor and Clachaltman Big. The late Peter Martin was researching them, so I don't believe that anybody's been there since. So we're just going to try and locate them, get them weighed, and ultimately lift them and get them documented so that lifting can start again. A fine example, in fact the only sort of left Scottish example of his and hers lifting stones. And by that what I mean is that
it was shown through Peter's research that in history, it was one of the only examples of a female lifting stone, you know, that women had lifted on a Sunday after Mass, alongside the men with the big stones. What's interesting is the small stone was also a manhood stone for teenagers to be brought into manhood. We all know about that story, these kind of stories in the Scottish mainland, but it's not really a popular thing in the islands.
The 4 stone lifters set off on foot to find the lost stones of Coll.
Well, we're here. We found them. We were searching about a mile closer to the old ruin, and we were in totally the wrong place, so we thought it's just going to be a fruitless task. We're not going to find them here.
Thankfully, Jules recognised some of the landscape from Peter Martin's photo, and with the help of an Islander, the group found the stones. The small stone weighed 59 kilograms, and the large stone 136 kilograms. Scotland's Strongest Man 2023. The pinnacle event is the Atlas Stones, and Atlas Endurance have once again crafted an amazing set of stones. Getting the stones set up is something most don't think about. While one strongman is expected to load the stones himself, it takes a team of men and a forklift to get these stones in place. Atlas Endurance have provided the stones each year with beautiful blue stones in 2021, royal yellow and red in 2022. This year's stones look stunning with their gold lettering. Curran put on a great performance, and like many strongman competitions, it came down to the Atlas Stones to decide the winner. Red-hot conditions made loading the stones incredibly difficult, and almost everyone struggled. managed to do enough to take the title and was crowned Scotland's Strongest Man 2023. The McGregor Stonelifting Games started in 2021 by Jamie Gorian. Each year, there are numerous games for men and women at all different strength levels. "2024 saw the return of Scotland's strongest stone lifter. The women's competition saw a close battle, but Wendy Stewart took the title. The men's competition was also close, with John Gibb putting in an excellent winning performance. Yes! The McGregor Stonelifting Games continues to grow. As stonelifting continues to rise, more women are becoming stonelifters. Izzy Tate has led the way for women in Scotland.
I started doing strong women back in 2019. Had originally just started at the gym to get fit and healthy, and then got introduced to comps and signed up for one, and it's just kind of grew from there. I then started doing natural stone lifting a couple of years after that maybe, and I've got such a passion for it. I just love it so much. The saddling mare, I was the first woman to load the saddle into the mare, first woman to lift the Fianna to chest, and the first woman to lift the Monachyle to chest and load the Puric. Definitely, and I think you're just going to see it continuing to grow. There's more people coming into it. You're starting to see a lot more stone-only comps, like natural stone comps, popping up all over the place, and it's definitely something that so many more people are getting into, especially you're seeing a lot more women as well coming over into it, which is great to see.
I think it's getting a little bit more popular. Women getting their hands on more natural stone lifting is getting a little bit more not mainstream, but I guess a little bit more exposure with people, you know, such as myself coming over here. Chloe's done a lot for, you know, natural stone lifting.
A lot more people talking about it, a lot more people sharing things about it, a lot more women just getting out and trying it. I think a lot of people are put off because they think, oh, women shouldn't do that.
Women are almost frightened of looking big, looking bulky, looking manly, and they shy away from the strength that they actually have. But stonelifting is functional fitness.
I mean, it's awesome because a lot of women don't do it or they don't know about it, but I think it's taking a turn to kind of build momentum and get more people involved. And I think it's just going to go from here, and it's going to be, what's next? What could women do next?
People getting behind it. It is getting better. There's more people sponsoring it and sponsoring women and hyping them up and giving them what we deserve. So it's going in the right direction.
A small gym in Elgin also helps support women in stonelifting. The Rusty Barbell, a gym used by Rachel Routledge and Steffi Murray.
So stones-wise, we have pretty much a full run of Atlas stones up to 130 kilos. And we just started ferreting around the countryside for natural stones, because it's actually where myself and my husband's love lies. We love the natural stones and the historic Scottish lifting stones. So we have a range right from 5 kilos up to the largest stone, which is on loan to us at 108 kilos, which we affectionately call ET. Plans for the future, that's a big question. So obviously we'd love this place to go from strength to strength and be the centre of the strongman and stone lifting community around here in Elgin. But I think we'll just have to take every day as it comes and just build slowly.
So one of the hot topics in the stone lifting community is preserving the stones. They have become increasingly popular. There's more interest in them, and they're easier to find because of GPS coordinates. They have to be lifted to preserve the history, but equally there's a danger of them being overlifted and damaged. So I think in the future we might find that there are more modern stones laid out for people on tours to enjoy.
You've got guys like Andy Crawford and Michael, and they've sort of brought new stones into the equation as well.
The growth of stone lifting is being helped by the placing of modern lifting stones. These are non-historical stones placed at various locations around Scotland. 2 men who have contributed to the growth are Andy Crawford and Michael Brown.
I'm Andy Crawford, stone lifter. Stone lifting, got into it probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. Started off with the Denny Stones. That was it, just pure Denny lifts, nothing but Denny stone lifts, nothing else for about 18 months, trained for that mainly, and then eventually lifted the Denny Stones. Was quite chuffed about that, 174th person to do it, chuffed to bits. Of course, finished with the Denny training, what comes next? So then I discovered, all the different stones around Scotland and was like, well, why not? Let's go for it, let's see if we can lift every single one.
I'm Michael Brown. Been involved in Scottish stone lifting for about 5 years. Started in 2018. My first stone lifting experience was the Ardblair Stones down in Blairgowrie. My gran actually seen an article in a newspaper about it, and I was quite into training and lifting weights and that at the time, so I was really eager to have a shot, and I was shocked how difficult it was. And since then I've just been hooked. And from the Ardblair Stones, I found out about the Denny Stones and then eventually all the other historic stones around the country. And it's just been amazing to train for it and learn about the stones and meet all the different people involved with it.
So myself and another few of the stone lifters in the community have now started placing stones in areas where there might not be historic stones, so that opens up stone lifting to other parts of the country. And it also gives the historic stones a little bit of a rest. And I think that is the way forward. I think, areas where there aren't any historic stones, if there's a good site, a good stone, why not have a stone lifting site that's modern? A lot of, you know, our progress with stone lifting comes down to this place, really. You know, it's pushing each other to the limits in the mouldy shed. No problem. Keep bumping it. Another good one. Come on.
Oh, yes. Yeah, buddy! Oh, I hate it.
Stone lifting is seeing a surge in popularity, and stone lifters are passing down this ancient strength culture to their children. Will stone lifting recapture its glorious heyday, or will it slowly fade away, only to be remembered by a small handful? Scotland's rich strength culture is in your hands.
The reasons why I go historic stone lifting is because history. It's your clan ancestral history, and I feel a strong link to that history when I go and put my hands on a stone that I know my ancestors have had their hands on it, their blood, their sweat's been on it, mine's is on it. You're carrying that history forward for the future, for generations, and I feel very passionate about it, and that's why I do it. And that's why I'd go a lot of stone tours, try to introduce people to that. And you know, it's just a unique feeling when you've got your hands on an 800-year-old piece of history that you know Scotchmen, Gaels over the years have lifted, and it's important to carry on that tradition.
Definitely the historic Scottish stones have got a magnetic persona. When you're in the presence of these stones, you can just feel the history.
I think keeping stone culture alive is extremely important, because as you can see across the Scottish stone lifting community, it has just brought so many positive things to so many people's lives.
Scottish heritage and things is really important to me, and you know, traditions is really important, and try get the Scottish stone lifting tradition back up and running, and which it is really well. You know, I've tried to pass it on to my kids, and you know, they've watched their dad do these Scottish manhood stones, and all my boys are really strong boys. So yeah, it's good to see them getting stuck in and try and keep this tradition alive, and you know, hopefully see generations and generations to come carry on this future of Scottish stone lifting.
It's amazing the amount of people that I've spoken to about it that had no idea that it even existed, and it's a shame in a way, I think. So I think it's really important to just keep it going and keep interest up, and so it doesn't get forgotten about, because it would be a real shame.
That is so important to keep alive. You know, it's such a key thing about stone lifting. I mean, I think about the friendships that I've made through stone lifting. Those people, they're now friends for life, you know. We share lifts with each other, we share stories, but it goes beyond that. It transcends stone lifting. We now, you know, care about each other, we care about each other's families, what's going on in each other's lives. And I think that is really why it's so important to keep it going. Not just the lifting, but you know, the camaraderie that comes with that stone lifting.
So, thanks to Peter Martin, stone lifting world is a far better place. I would think he would probably be mixed feelings, I think. But I think uniquely he'd be quite pleased, because his ultimate goal was to show stone lifting to the world. Let the world know about stone lifting, especially Scotland, because he was quite proud to be Scottish and have these stones in his back door, so to speak. But I think because all the people, the hundreds of people who have come from around the world to lift each stone, I think he would actually be quite honoured and pleased with that. He'd be happy.
It could easily be forgotten about, and I suppose it almost was at some point, and it's just a really special part of Scottish culture.
I think it's very important we preserve that history, because it's our history, it's Scotland's history.
For the layman that doesn't do it, it is a hard one to explain why we do it, but until you start yourself and realise the history and the accomplishment when you do lift these stones, to me it's, I wish I'd got into it when I was younger.